So Greg was born in Seattle, Washington, before moving to Texas. Of course, Johnny's going to be a mainstay there, as Bruce has just sort of laid out. As the legend goes, Johnny attempts to deter his son from entering the business, but of course, it's no use. Greg drops out of college and eventually wants to pursue this dream so bad that his dad says, hey, if you're going to get trained to wrestle, go see Stu Hart. So Greg's actually a product of the Hart Dungeon, which I don't think is mentioned very often. You ever talk to Greg about his experience with the Hart family?
No, I never have. Actually, see, that's news to me. But I knew that Johnny did not want Greg to be a wrestler, did not want Greg in the business, and discouraged him heavily and made it difficult for him and told him, you're not going to use the family name. Like, right. You're not going to go out, you're not going to sponge off my name, as Johnny Valentine. Sure as hell aren't going to be my son. Because at the time, the whole deal was that you look at Johnny Valentine, you didn't want to, he looked older, but at the same time, you didn't want your star to be the father of a 20-year-old man.
Right.
So when Greg broke in and when Greg came to Texas, came through for the first time, he was
a different name.
Yeah, it was Fargo, but I don't remember if he was Greg
Johnny Fargo.
Johnny Fargo.
He was the brother of Don Fargo in Buffalo and Cleveland before going to Texas.
That's not true, though. He wasn't their brother. Conrad, it was Greg Valentine. It was Johnny Valentine's son.
His debut match was in Calgary.
How come we laugh more when we're in person?
Because well, first of all, it's a little absurd. You're wearing shorts and a watch and glasses in my kitchen, and we've got Advil, a Diet Pepsi, a roll of paper towels, a bag of Starburst jelly beans, a backup glass of ice, and a Gatorade. And oh, by the way, a full legitimate COVID system so we could test you and Stephanie before you came in the house. What's going on with our life?
What have you done to me?
I'm just wanting to make sure everybody's safe.
All right.
Forgive me.
Where the hell were you on Friday?
Listen, I thought it was Pat McAfee's day to watch you. It's not my fault. So supposedly, based on everything you just told us, that confirms my research. The Valentines did not want Greg to debut as a Valentine. So he calls himself Babyface Nelson, which I got to think is a fucking great wrestling name. Would you see that?
Greg, he looked a little like Babyface Nelson.
I could go for that.
Yeah, but he looked like Babyface Nelson with the old Al Capone gang and shit.
So he spent 6 months...
You know anybody in gangs?
This is real, boys and girls. My daughter, Kansas, got her very first job. She's down at the Korean barbecue shop, so that's Bruce's favorite food, so that's where we went his first night here in town. And Bruce is in the wrestling bubble. When he's trying to make conversation with my daughter, he says, so how you liking work? She answers. How's school? She answers. Awkward silence, and then Bruce cuts a piece of his bulgogi or whatever and then says, so are you in a gang?
I said, did you join a gang yet? That's a fair question.
It's just hilarious. In Huntsville, Alabama. Yeah. After 6 months in Calgary, he moves on to Detroit and completes his training under the Sheik, with his pedigree being Johnny Valentine's son and being trained by Stu Hart and the Sheik. I guess it's no surprise that Hammer had quite the run in wrestling. What was the reputation of Sheik as a trainer? We've heard all about Stu Hart and the Dungeon as a trainer, but what about the Sheik?
The Sheik was a mean son of a bitch, too. And, again, these were old timers that taught you the reality of the business. Respect the business and the reality of the business. And if you couldn't hold up your end, if there wasn't a confidence that you could go into any bar anywhere in the United States and walk out being able to kick most anybody's ass in that bar, then you didn't belong in the business.
Yeah.
So it explains a lot about Greg, because people always talk about just how unmercifully tough Greg was. his upbringing and his training and his first few years in the business was just that. I know, Johnny had Buddy Roberts, who became a Valentine at one point in his career. But it
became a free bird and took an ass whooping like nobody else.
Well, somebody had to.
Yeah, wasn't going to be Michael.
Yeah, please.
So let's talk about this. You said, you remember Valentine in Texas. Did you see Greg in Texas?
Oh, yeah, I saw Greg as Fargo.
As Fargo.
John Fargo, yeah.
Did you ever see him as
Greg Valentine?
Yes, in Texas.
I will look and see if I have. There is a picture of Greg Valentine, and it's like an old wrestling picture. He's got his fist up, and he's got his other hand up like an elbow smash.
I know that picture.
Okay, and I would draw lines as if his hair was combed straight back on that picture. I have it in a program somewhere. Just to say, that is, because you couldn't deny that he was Johnny Valentine's kid.
I see. So you as a little kid were like,
even as a little kid, I knew that was Johnny Valentine's something.
Yeah, he's related. Yeah.
Yeah, but then they said, oh, it's Johnny Valentine's brother. His younger brother.
He heads to Florida and becomes Johnny Valentine Jr. before he settles on Greg the Hammer Valentine. So I guess this is a move. Nobody wants to be the senior. Perception's reality. You don't ever want to be perceived as being too old and maybe not a physical threat. Anyway, he gets to Japan in the mid-'70s before his world is turned upside down. As you mentioned, his father is part of that infamous plane crash with Ric Flair and David Crockett. Ultimately, he's not going to be an in-ring performer moving forward. His father, Johnny, we mean.